The year is 1991. The Somali Democratic Republic has collapsed, its dictator Siad Barre fleeing and leaving chaos in his wake. Clan militias battle for control in the south, but in the northwest, former British Somaliland, a different story begins. Hargeisa and other cities lie in ruins, devastated by Barre's forces. The trauma is fresh, the land awash with weapons. There is no state, no police, no courts, just a void. International aid focuses on the south, ignoring the north's unique history and suffering. The people of Somaliland are left alone, surrounded by the threat of renewed war. Guns are everywhere, and old clan grievances simmer dangerously. The situation is dire, a traumatized population, destroyed infrastructure, and no formal authority. Yet against all odds, something remarkable stirs. Somaliland's people, led by traditional elders, choose a different path from the war-torn south. They accept that no one is coming to save them, no UN, no donors. If peace is to come, they must build it themselves. Their greatest tool isn't a weapon, but the deep-rooted clan system that has governed them for centuries. The elders, respected and trusted, step forward to guide their people. In the ashes of war, Somaliland's journey toward stability begins, not with outside help, but with the strength of its own traditions. This is the unlikely starting point for a new society. In the West, clans are often seen as obstacles to progress, but in Somaliland, the clan is the foundation of society. The Somali national movement recognized this, choosing to work with, not against, the clan system. Instead of imposing a Western-style government, they empowered the Gurti, the Council of Elders. The Gurti, custodians of customary law and social harmony, became the backbone of peace efforts. Elders traveled tirelessly, mediating disputes and negotiating ceasefires. Their authority came from respect, not force, and their methods, dialogue, poetry, shared faith, reminded people of their common bonds. This grassroots approach was Somaliland's first innovation, using tradition to heal and unite. By giving elders real power, Somaliland addressed conflicts at their roots, clan by clan. The Gurti became the first peacekeepers, creating space for a new political order. This pragmatic embrace of tradition laid the groundwork for stability. It was a system understood and trusted by the people, essential for lasting peace. Somaliland's future would be built not by outsiders, but by its own hands and heritage. The elders' leadership was the key to pulling society back from the brink. By 1993, fragile stability had taken hold, but a permanent solution was needed. Hundreds of delegates from every clan gathered in Borama for a 6-month national conference, funded by locals and the diaspora. Debates were intense. State structure, power sharing, disarmament, all on the table. The result was a unique hybrid system, a civilian president, a bicameral parliament, and a national charter as an interim constitution. The House of Representatives was elected. The House of Elders, the Gurti, was enshrined as a constitutional body. This fusion of modern and traditional authority gave Somaliland both legitimacy and functionality. The presidency passed from the SNM leader to a civilian, marking a shift from liberation movement to civilian rule. The Borama model was designed by Somalilanders for Somalilanders, reflecting their reality. It was a political masterstroke, blending tradition and modernity to create a stable foundation. With a government in place, disarmament was the next challenge. Unlike elsewhere, there were no foreign peacekeepers, only the clan system. Disarmament was voluntary, negotiated by elders at the clan level. The Gurti persuaded fighters to hand over weapons for the sake of their family's future. Compensation came from local taxes and diaspora remittances, but more important was the promise of a new role, joining the national army or police. This approach was rooted in trust and shared destiny, not coercion. Most militias disarmed peacefully, and the infamous technicals were handed over or dismantled. Somaliland achieved what international programs in the south could not: real disarmament, locally owned. No foreign soldiers were needed, just the authority of elders and the will of the people. The instruments of violence came under central control, cementing peace. Disarmament succeeded because it was built on community trust and local leadership. Peace alone doesn't make a state. Institutions do. Somaliland had no international recognition, no aid, and no loans. It had to build from scratch. Revenue came from local taxes. Merchants, traders, and business owners contributed willingly, seeing real results. Salaries for police and soldiers were paid from these funds, reinforcing security. The government recruited former officers, reopened courts, and blended state law with customary and Islamic law. Ministries formed, staffed by experienced and new civil servants. Progress was slow, offices were bombed out shells, resources scarce, but legitimacy grew from local participation. Institutions were shaped by Somaliland's needs, not foreign blueprints. The social contract was clear. The state provided security and order, the people provided support. This inside-out approach made the system resilient and trusted. Somaliland's state building was organic, practical, and deeply rooted in its own society. It proved that legitimacy comes from within, not from international approval. After a decade of rebuilding, Somaliland faced its next test: democracy. The Borama system was transitional. The goal was elections, not just clan consensus. In 2001, a constitutional referendum enshrined multi-party democracy and independence. Local elections in 2002 determined the three official parties, preventing clan-based fragmentation. The first presidential election in 2003 was peaceful, despite fierce competition. With no international support, Somaliland developed its own voting systems and monitoring. Civil society and diaspora groups ensured fairness. The process moved politics from clan appointments to open competition. Disputes were settled in court, not with violence. The guns stayed silent. Democracy took root. Somaliland's elections were imperfect, but the commitment to peaceful process was real. The world watched skeptically, but Somalilanders proved their resolve. The ballot box, not the gun, became the new arbiter of power. The true test of democracy is a peaceful transfer of power, especially after a close election. In 2003, the presidential race was decided by just 80 votes. In many places, this would have sparked violence. In Somaliland, the opposition challenged the result in court. The Gurti mediated, urging calm and respect for the law. The Supreme Court upheld the result, and the opposition leader accepted the verdict, prioritizing national stability. This moment of restraint showed profound political maturity. In 2010, power peacefully transferred to the opposition, unprecedented in the Somali-speaking world. Somaliland's hybrid system, blending tradition and democracy, proved resilient under pressure. Elections remained tense, but disputes were resolved through dialogue, not force. The country's stability was maintained, even in diplomatic isolation. Somaliland demonstrated that democracy could thrive, even on the razor's edge. The world took notice, but recognition remained elusive. Today, Somaliland has governed itself for nearly 35 years. It has a functioning government, army, police, its own currency, and a record of peaceful elections. All this was achieved without international recognition, major aid, or outside intervention. The world spends billions trying to stabilize southern Somalia, while ignoring Somaliland's homegrown success. Somalilanders carry passports few recognize, and lack access to global finance and development loans, yet their story is a lesson. Stability is built from the ground up, with local solutions and leadership. Somaliland's resilience and pragmatism offer hope, and a challenge to conventional wisdom. Their achievement stands as a beacon of what's possible, even in the world's toughest neighborhoods.